hello there. How are you? Thank you so much for finding us and for tuning in. I'm Heidi Popp, and I love talking with people, walking the walk, talking the talk, sharing their human experience, and being of assistance to others. And I'm super excited because it's kind of part two with good friend Amie Chilson of Adventures with Amie. Welcome, Amie. How are you?
Maggie. Oh, I'm so happy to be back. We could talk forever.
I know, we're like, why don't we just start? Let's push record because we just keep going.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for coming back. This is going to be juicy. In case you missed our last one, you can find it on YouTube, Rumble, on Adventures with Amie. You can find her on her website. On all those handles are everywhere. So check it out. We have some juicy little clips out there too. But today's episode, we're going to talk about past and future lives. So I'm very curious how this will unpack, but I'm also know I'm in good company here. I just love the way you think and and how it comes out with you, Amie. So tell me about this topic in general. Why is this so why is this interesting?
Oh,
What
it's
is
fascinating beyond words. And we have some good words to share in our vocabularies. This is such an important, if not the most important, like our existence. Why are we here? The big question, right? Who are we? Why are we here? And I think a lot of people, especially that's why it's a timely theme right now. A lot of people are doing that existential seeking, or maybe even existential crises right now. A lot of people, they sense they have that inner voice that's getting louder and louder, their higher selves, their soul saying, you know, there's something not right. It's time for a shift, for a change. Life is never going to be the same. Time to wake up.
Mhm.
And so there are, and where do we begin on a topic like this? It's so big
Yeah.
and broad,
Yeah.
and this could be a long video series right here, and maybe it should be, right?
I'm down.
Yeah.
Well,
The big question is
what
like,
made you start studying your past
yeah.
and future lives? Like, how'd you start dipping
So,
into that? I know for me, it was starting healing, my healing journey. It made me look at all these. Hmm.
and I would love to know more about how you started your journey of awakening too. The fast version of how I got into understanding my existence, my cosmic origin or cosmic heritage, and who I have been in the past or who I will be in the future really began when I started to wake up in 2007. That's when how I equate it to metaphorically is I was getting this deep calling, this yearning for truth. And I had been questioning the nature of reality since I was 5 years old. So I'd been very aware at a very young age. And then coming into a family where there was a lot of um, religious rules and structure, I think in a way helped me a lot because I rebelled and I started questioning and being very inquisitive and curious because it didn't feel necessarily like it resonated with me. And so there'd been a lot of questioning already from a very early age. And by the time 2007 rolled around, it felt like this formula that we're all, well, let's say in Western society, it's kind of stuffed down our throat. You go to school, be a good kid, get the good grades, right? Then you go to college, hopefully get a good job, a mortgage, 2.5 kids, house, white picket fence, that kind of, you know, formula. Like everybody needs to do this. And if you don't, you're an outsider and a weirdo, unconventional if you don't live the formula. And there's nothing wrong with any of those things. It's just for me, I didn't feel like that was the entire purpose of my existence, that there was so much more and I was meant for so much more. Does that make sense?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And so that's what really spawned or encouraged my awakening. And I call like the big first layer of the onion came off in 2007 for me. And I wanted truth so bad, Heidi. I needed it like air in my lungs that it felt like I was swimming, swimming, swimming to the surface. And if you're a free diver, a swimmer, you know, when you get to that place where, oh, maybe I went too far in the water. You need that next breath. Like you need it badly. That's how I needed truth
Oh, wow.
of my existence. And I just had to get to the top of the surface and take that first breath of truth to survive. And that's what happened in 2007 when I started questioning everything. And I went on my own vision quest, my own pilgrimage of truth. And thank goodness I had a lot of resources at my fingertips. Then I had a lot of great books that just really woke me up,
Mhm.
and some films out there that just, took me down the rabbit hole. I was being called a conspiracy theorist since 2007, by friends and family. And just like, wanting to go on my own, spending time in solitude and question and really listen to the higher self, the messages coming through, and what resonated with me. And part of that journey in 2007 was jumping into past life regression through hypnosis. Now, there's many ways that we can explore our past and our future lives. You can do it through dream state. You can have deja vu. A lot of people will have deja vu where you're like, I've been here before. I know this, or I knew this was going to happen. The premonition. I know that person. Maybe I'm looking at them for the first time physically, but I know them from somewhere, sometime. And you could be amongst somewhere like, say, Central America, so Southeast Asia. You're in temples or touching something ancient, and memories can come back.
Mhm.
I have re-remembered past lives that way, but I found the easiest way for me was to do it through hypnosis. And I was intrigued, and at that time, I was reading all the books by Dr. Brian Weiss. Have you heard of him?
No, I haven't actually.
He was
No.
more of he did it for a lot of healing reasons as well. Hypnosis in the past, like I would say since the 60s, had been more of a get hypnotized to lose weight, stop smoking, that kind of thing. But he was
Mhm.
more of a pioneer into like true therapy, true understanding and healing. And Many Lives, Many Masters is a book that he wrote that was very popular to learn about past lives. I started reading all of his books, and I had a friend, and she, thank goodness, and this is a really important point, she had already awakened, and she was a very evolved, awakened soul. I had a few other friends that were going through the awakening process, and I am so grateful to them because it can be a very lonely experience to wake up, especially when your close friends and family want nothing to do with it or don't want to understand. And the path of the initiate, right, is often equated with being a lonely one. However, it's so important to spend that solitude. And I started doing past life regression with her. And excuse me one second.
Yeah, yeah. That's so
This time I
interesting.
have tea. I don't have a whole bevy of drinks here. um, and so when I first started the hypnosis process with her, I went down pretty easily. I was easily introduced to trance and remembering. And I started discovering lives where I've been men, I've been women, I've been, up, down, here, there. And it felt so uh, healing to me. It felt like just, I finally started to understand who I truly was, who
Mm.
I'd been.
Mm.
And it was just this sense of deep peace, profound peace that I had been searching for. And that I knew I was much more than this formulaic lifestyle that I've been handed to go live here. Maybe you make it 80, 90 years and then that's it. Like I knew that was not the case. And reincarnation was once in the Bible and a lot of other religious traditions, and it's been wiped. You know, in 500 AD, Council of Nicaea, they wiped out so many books in the Bible, and they completely wanted to wipe out reincarnation because they wanted to control salvation by works. They wanted to
That's it.
control all of that and
Yeah.
not let people know that you are this eternal, infinite being. And round and round and round we go. We want to be it all. We are a divine fractal of God, expanding, God expanding, prime source creator, whatever name you want to put on a higher power. All of us are expanding through these different lives, and we want to bring this knowledge back. And it's a beautiful thing when you start to understand that. So
Mm-hmm.
that we will never cease to exist. We go on and on and on and on. And that makes it so much more peaceful, and people can not stress out that, like, you think you get one shot and that's it. No, we actually never die, Heidi. I know you know this. We will change form. You know, right
Mm-hmm.
now, this is I like to call it irreverently, my meat suit.
I call it meat suit. Yeah, for sure.
Spacesuit, skin suit.
Yeah.
This is our physical vessel
Mm-hmm.
that we're driving through this incarnation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I happen to like mine, and I'm taking good care of it. I like yours.
It caused me suffering most of my life because of my programming. Yeah, but that's my Earth School moment. I came back into this with the family I had, and I had to go through a lot of hard lessons. But that's part of the awakening journey.
It
It's
is.
been all part of my awakening. Yep. Yep.
And that's another thing, is not to identify too deeply with the vessel, not to hate the vessel in either direction. There's a balance, right? To realize that this is about integration. And
Mm-hmm.
this vessel will, has lasted for a period of time. We'll take care of it, we'll enjoy it, but it's not necessarily who we are. And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people will wrap up their identity in the vessel, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
could be
Oh, completely.
a whole topic
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah. And when you realize too that it's your light vessel, this is your Merkaba. You're the one who can turn it up as bright as you want, or you can dim it really low, and that's going to depict the kind of experience you have, I feel. So when I started honoring my meat suit, I'm like, oh, this is a tool. This is a tool for me to bring my star knowledge in and share it with others. I'm gonna fine tune it. Then that healing journey, really, really kicked in.
Did you
I
also,
love,
when you had that realization and that awakening, that you had such a deeper sense of self-love and
oh, yes.
acceptance for self?
And all the chains that bound me through the decades before that just went away. Like all of a sudden, I looked at my body as a temple and I treated it as such. And all the issues that were in here for so long just went away. And my body lined up gracefully and lovely. Like I'm no longer at war with my meat suit. I'm not judging it. I'm not, critical of it. I'm not, well, that's judging. I'm not purposely hurting it. I would test it to its limits. You can blame that on young age, but no, I did that in my 40s too. I just started treating it with respect, and then lo and behold, it's given me some fun respect back too. I'm really having a smooth journey with my meat suit now, so I
Well,
thank it for that.
you look great. You've got a lot of health and vibrancy, and you and I were in our mid 40s, and I don't feel like I'm getting older. I feel like I'm
Yeah.
getting stronger and more stamina, more
Yes.
vibrancy. Not
Yeah.
carry along all those programs that, like that formula we're handed to coming in.
Mhm. Yeah. I'm
That
not carrying all that weight from the past decades. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt there. And my daughter loves to remind me I'm almost half a century old.
we're just getting warmed up.
Thanks, pal. I'm just getting warmed up. When you're talking about the awakening and then you dove right into the quantum hypnosis or the hypnosis, you QHHTs. I know the awakening journey is different for others, but I didn't dive into those past life regressions just until last year. So I was having the only thing that relates though is for several years. little goddess hangouts, or, you're hanging with like a shaman or someone that has really practiced these tools for most of their lives. So you are in an experience with other women or other like minds, and you get channeled information or things that really resonate. And there were about 4 years ago, I had one done that really, I felt my whole everything, my existence shift, because it was like this biggest dot connect, and I began healing my womb. Like there was this whole thing about my past lives and taken advantage of and rapes and all of these things, everything that resonated with my patterns of my current life, which was crippling me. And I was able to lay all that to rest. It was like, this makes sense. No wonder I've had this thing ticking, but in the back of my mind, and you're able to lay things to rest, put it to bed and put it away. The hypnosis, though, that took me to another level, because the first tiny one I did, it was like a mini one just to get my feet wet, I guess. Yeah, I came into a man's body, and that I didn't know that was possible. I'm like, oh yeah, this happens too. And I remember whatever got unblocked. I think I was in Bethlehem. I can picture the temple still. I basically was a man who died and was left. I was never laid to rest. I was in this creek bed in the corner, never laid to rest. But I was able to float through a town, and I found either my mom or my wife or a partner, a woman I saw selling fruit and vegetables in a market, and I lost it. I was crying and snot going, ugly cry,
Yeah.
like hardcore, but something unlocked, something released, and something healed. And I remember that wave going through me like, whoa, this is so real. I didn't just dream this up. It's not like a dream that's like, well, that's weird. It was an experience I had. And I was, still conscious. It was still present.
Yeah.
And I, without a shadow of a doubt, believe all these sorts of therapies can help us heal and shift and move through these blocks and this awakening. So it goes hand in hand with our awakening, the past and future life studies. That
Well,
was a
thank you for
roundabout.
sharing that. And what you said reminded me too. It's like you could lay it to rest for good. That part of yourself was resolved and healed. No more generational wounds, no more coming back for the remedial course because you didn't figure it out the last time or this time. You're laying it to rest and healing it for good. And for people who are just listening and hearing this for the first time and never even thought of it, or maybe they've been curious, that is one of the major aspects of QHHT is the healing, quantum healing hypnosis therapy. This isn't just about learning how to lose weight, or not that there's anything wrong with that. And this brings up Dolores Cannon. Did you know about her before you did your hypnosis?
I did. Yeah, because of my mom. And again, like, since I as well, since a child, always questioning the reality, but it took milestones in my life to trust my big jump
Yes.
to make me go, ooh, how exciting. But diving into healing was just really the past few years.
Okay.
And then yeah, go ahead though. Sorry.
No, Dolores is I didn't hear about Dolores until 2015. Yeah, so I don't know if I was doing official QHHT. My friend who was a licensed hypnotherapist, I believe so, based on how I've learned about Dolores' technique. And my friend was highly evolved, beautiful soul. She has since graduated to her next adventure, so I never got to ask her. But I was hanging out when I was living in Bali, 2015, Bali, Indonesia. I remember exactly where I was. I was sitting on this beach hut patio looking at the water. Ding, I got a text from one of my dear girlfriends, and she sent me the link to the seminar of Dolores Cannon on the 3 waves of volunteers.
Mm.
And I listened to that, and I had been in deep seeking mode and feeling, that same deep longing to understand who I am, what I've been, what my purpose is here. And I listened to that, and it just started to click. Like some activation started happening at a soul level for me. And Dolores Cannon, what's different about her, she's the pioneer of QHHT, is that she has really done things a lot differently than any other hypnotherapist out there. She's able to tap into what is called a somnambulistic state, which is a very deep trance state where she can be guided by that person's super consciousness or higher consciousness. And that person is literally reliving everything about that life. I mean, this is a very, very deep state of trance, and that's where she can get real answers and healing and simultaneous or spontaneous healing and remission from disease and illness will often happen to people that worked with her and through this therapy. I mean, they'd go in ready for some major surgery, and after one session with her in hypnosis, it was gone. Whatever, they were healed, whatever it was. So they didn't need surgery. To heal in relationships, generational healing, all of this, and the intrigue of understanding who we've been, right? That's another big one is, we've been so much. So Dolores was a true pioneer in all of this, in this QHHT, and really helping people heal and wake up to their infinite nature and to their true power, that we're not just this, being. You and I talked about this in our last podcast show, was that often we're taught by religion or, unsuspecting parents or friends, families, school, that we're not good enough or we're not powerful or all these, these are all lies. It's not true. We are truly powerful, infinite beings. So she was deeply curious and inspired to understand the truth of our existence, the truth of our cosmology, right? And the history books are so erroneous and by purpose. There's so many lies in history. Most of what we're taught in school and books is not true at all. And she wanted to get to the bottom of it. And so she was able to go back and actually meet people who existed with Jesus, Yeshua, Master Yeshua.
Yes.
And all these different amazing characters throughout history, and the masters, and to find out the truth. And now I dove into her work immediately, and she has 18 books out there. I've read 14 of them, and I've seen just about every one of her seminars. So she's easy to find. If someone is curious, I would just say, look up a YouTube or find some of her books. And it is incredible. It's almost like you finally have this sigh of relief of like, oh, I finally understand.
Yeah.
It's very exciting because, oh my goodness. And this has inspired me when I started reading and understanding more through QHHT and Dolores Cannon work, all these different roles that I've played and how it has affected me in this life. And that's a big part of the healing process. I'm sure for you, when you went through that process yourself, seeing yourself in Bethlehem and going to find, you were feeling abandoned and left there, right? Left to die, and then finding your wife or your family member there. Wow. How many more other, beings, how lives have you had, incarnations?
Yeah.
You and I have played together. I'm sure of it.
Oh, I'm sure of it. Yeah. We keep meeting each other. They say that too with your family members.
Yes.
I have my 101-year-old grandma, she's always lived by herself. She's very independent. She's a Terminator, but she finally fell and broke her hip. They did surgery on her. They're like, she's strong enough and fit enough to make it through surgery. So she did. But wait, what was my point about my grandma? Oh, I feel like she's hanging in there and my grandpa won't come down and meet her and take her with them, but because she's got so much karmic debt. She's got a nasty tongue, and there's families divided sometimes because of her words. And I'm like, I can see how things could resolve, but it's her journey. So I'm just kind of like telling my sister, I'm like, she's going to come back so many more times to figure this out. But yeah, yeah. And when you were saying, like, when we were talking about past and future lives, the last, it was it was around my birthday. I treated myself, November 2022, to one of the long, big sessions. So it's like a 6-hour thing. You talking for 2 hours, you're under for 2 hours, you're processing for 2 hours, something like that. I didn't necessarily go through past lives, but what I did do is healed all these current wounds I had, and I felt my past generational curses, or I healed ancestral lines. Like, I did a lot of work just using my current day situation. So, like, when you brought up earlier about people go under hypnosis for weight loss and stuff, what I admire so much with the quantum hypnosis therapy, why are you having a problem with your weight in the first place?
Let's go to the cause.
Let's go to the root. And often it's way back there. It's way back there. Yeah, you could go to childhood stuff, but you're also talking ancestral too. You were learned behavior from a parent. Where did they get that from? Keep going back, keep going back. So the healing is ongoing, and you're almost doing it for multiple people. You're doing it for other members of your family. You're doing it for your future and for your children and grandchildren. And I can't recommend it enough, other than research your practitioner you go through. And I actually want to dive again, because I have not tapped into a lot of the child trauma or abductions or contactee stuff. So I've been told to hold on to my hat and prepare myself for that one. And I'm like, I'll get there. But I think that could be very helpful as well.
Yeah, it's the shedding of and releasing the layers and layers, lifetimes of what is still unresolved, unforgiven. And that's really the point, is we have to get to that place if we're going to move forward, if we're going to graduate to the next level, is to release it all and to learn the lesson. Dolores will have people that she would put under, and they're in their present lifetime as that person visiting her for a session. And they would tell her, I have this pain in my neck and it's just horrible. And it's, I can't go through life with this huge pain in my neck. And lo and behold, through the therapy, we'd find out in hypnosis, this person, maybe they were in the French Revolution and they were at the guillotine. And so they never forgave that death, that, very traumatic death experiences. And those often play, and people will carry those forward because they haven't healed them yet. They'll carry the wounds from traumatic deaths. Or maybe it's they come in with asthma and they had, in a past life died in a fire, or, all these different contribute. And so Dolores, and it makes complete sense. For me, it's like the point is to resolve it so you don't keep carrying it forward.
Right. And this is documented up the wazoo. I used to watch also Alba Wyman's episodes on YouTube. I have a friend who went through one of her sessions, but I was fascinated. And this is years before I even took the journey myself. I was fascinated because they were always in a different state of being, but present. And their tone of their voice, things would shift and change. So you knew, okay, this is coming through, that's something else. And but that's why I love reality TV. Even though I hated being a part of it, I love reality TV because you see the raw, authentic moment. So when you see people under the hypnosis going through this, you see them raw. You see them, this is a very real thing. And you can see the light come back in their eyes, or the pain that's been permanently there, it lifts. You can physically see the shift in them. And it's like, wow. And no wonder it's, there's certain parts of community that poo-poo it or judge it. I mean, I think that's medical mafia doing that. Like, don't heal. Whatever you do, don't heal.
Don't step into your power.
Yeah. Oh gosh, it's exciting. Yeah, I'm excited to do it again.
Oh my goodness. I'm so passionate about this topic, and eventually I think that I will get into creating some short documentaries or more video series, because I really want people to understand their infinite nature. And this is one avenue to quickly and very vibrantly and viscerally understand who you've been. And that goes to, I remember this one session, we've got to be it all before we graduate to the next level. And we want to be it all. And that could be first starting off as a nebulous gas, to know what that is. And then maybe you're a mineral for a while, and then you graduate to a tree and then experience being a tree. And, then it's an insect and an animal, right? Before we become
Mhm.
human. There was this
Mhm.
one hypnosis session where Dolores was taking a woman through, and the woman was describing, she's like, I'm a worm. And she was on a leaf, and the leaf fell in the stream. And this woman was describing from the point of view of a worm. It's
That's
like
so
the
cool.
wild rapids. Oh my goodness, what an adventure. And Dolores is kind of giggling. She's like, wow, you really had an adventure as a worm, and that is, we want to be it all. And it sounds funny. However, it is true that we want to and we have to be it all.
Mhm.
And this brings me so much more respect and oneness with Mama Gaia, with our animal kingdom, when you have really understood that you have been it all, and
Mhm.
everything is alive, everything has consciousness. I'm not a Jane, so I'm not going to go around acting like a Jane, but I do respect nature, and even like stepping over a string of ants, or talking to my plants every morning when I
Yeah.
water them. That is how I live my life. And that has been deeply affected by understanding that I have been it all, you have been it all. And
Mhm.
this is just the process. Even our animals, we can help them evolve and accelerate their evolution and consciousness expansion faster by helping them individuate
Mhm.
through love, giving them new experiences, different stimulations. So whether you have a dog, a cat, horse, an animal that you can probably bond with more, we can actually help. So that's a soul
Yeah.
in the vessel of your pet, right?
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
do that as well. And we have pre-life agreements with our animals. We have pre-life agreements with, and this is something that I want to talk about, pre-life agreements. That how do we create these and why? Why are they so important, right?
Mm.
So you were
Mhm.
talking about your grandmother. I bet you have, and your sister and your family have pre-life agreements with your grandmother. And whether or not she wants to resolve anything, it's up to her. It's her own sacred soul journey, just like you're on your own. We may not understand other people's journeys right now. We can focus on ourselves and what we can do and create and forgive and release. And so what happens is we either conclude and finish that agreement, or, we come in with a plan. We can completely bypass it because we have free will, right? Every soul has
Everything.
free will.
Mhm.
A lot of people, they chuck that plan, and they don't abide by their agreements when they come in, or they completely forget. And it just means there's no judgment for it. It just means that there's going to be a remedial course to come back and do it again until the lessons have been learned. That's why I think like I was so deeply, like I told you in the beginning of this podcast, that I needed to breathe, and breathing to me equated to truth. I needed to understand why I was here. I really wanted to remember and to do this incarnation to the best of my ability, and to understand and to expand and like do the mission, the best that I could do. And part of that is to understand how eternal we are. And I think that when they start to get past the fear of death, and they really understand what happens after they leave their meat suit, they have way more peace and way more love and acceptance for themselves and every other soul.
Mm. Well, I think it could be not controversial, but I'm sure people have opinions on that. Like I feel my dad has passed, he's transitioned, and I can call upon him and I can hear him and I can bring him through. And I brought him through in one of those sessions and got to get those last words and kind of thing. But I do feel like maybe he's made another journey. He's not going to be Terry Pop, my dad, but he's going to be this soul that's just coming through for another round of lessons. It's not like I'm going to run into somebody and be like, you're my dad in there. I don't know about, I guess I can't say that, but I know who he was as his essence. I can call upon, I can reach into the quantum and communicate, because that soul will always be there. And but like when my cat Jack, like he's otherworldly. He was like my king, my prince. Like we were telepathic, like the works. When he passed, it was like a divine partner had passed. It was traumatic. I wasn't surprised that like 4 or 6 months later, we found Bo running on an on-ramp, on the 101. And we have that eye connection. I'm like, I see in his eyes, but it was still another animal. So I'm kind of like, oh, sorry, soul. Like, hope you can move on and evolve a little bit. I think he's having a good time. I feel like there's a connection there. It's the same feeling I have when I look into Bo's eyes as I did Jack's. So I'm like this guardian, this protection, this, yeah. And so I just feel like they can bounce too. I also feel like I feel like this topic can go in so many directions. Like new information comes in at the same time I'm talking. I'm like hearing myself. I'm like, wait, but I also think this. So much to unpack.
It is. It's and that's what is exciting about it is there are potentialities coming off of every little idea or story or anecdote that we share here that can go so broad, and that is inspiring to me to cover this more.
Yeah.
And I don't know, outside of like the personal growth of ascension and waking up, in which this is a part of, any other topic that is more important than this or more exciting to me than this right here that we're talking about, especially when the great awakening that we're in right now, this age. I mean, people, when they start to realize how infinite they are, it's just, and that not to fear the death process. Do you want to talk about that? I think I would love to talk about what
that's
happens.
juicy.
Yeah,
That's a
what
juicy
happens
one.
when we croak as
I know. Well, I think there's a universal fear of pain, like the pain body. I don't think anybody wants to go out traumatically or, in a tragedy. So I've had that. I have to process that once in a while, because sure enough, all the work I've been doing, I keep finding I tragically die in childbirth. So no wonder I had weird experiences. But yeah, there you go. Let's dive into that one. What are your
if
thoughts?
you have time too, and you can remember, I do want to share one life that was a very pivotal life and did come with a lot of traumatic pain for me that I have not carried into other lives. But anyway, so let's start with what happens when we die. I say croak because that's what Abraham Hicks says, just to be irreverent, because we don't really die. And what I understand is it's far easier to die than it is to be born. So the death process is a lot easier than the birthing process. So let's just say that you're ready to move on to the next adventure, and you leave the physical vessel. So once we leave it, it's going to disintegrate, right? And now a lot of people describe it as going through a light tunnel. So we go to the other side, the unseen realm. And the first thing that happens as we get there is we're met by the greeter. Now the greeter, or multiple greeters, could be friends or family. It could be just someone, a friendly face that you feel comfortable with, and they're helping you transition to the other side. So you've got a very soft, nice, comfy landing, if you will. And
I don't want to stop your flow, but have you seen those videos? You see people as they're transitioning in hospice, they're always reaching up.
Mhm.
If you notice that, they're like they're ready to, like they're going into a hug. Oh gosh, that gave me chills. Okay, go ahead.
That was my grandmother, Grace, who we spoke about in the last one. And
Yeah.
it just that I watched her soul leave when she was, this vessel was dying. It was like that last, and she was no longer able to do anything for herself. So she was full care. We were taking care of her here at home, here in this house that I'm in right now. and she wasn't able to sit up on her own. But as she was leaving, she sat up totally by herself, like really fast with her arms in the air. And I believe, and then her spirit left. I believe she saw Jesus, and Jesus was her greeter. And she was like, it's time to go home. So it's a very wonderful feeling. Everybody remembers it as there's no pain. It's all pure love, light, harmony, bliss. It's just so much love. And then you come in and it's just so beautiful.
Mm.
Just there's no pain, none. It's like to go back into and light. These bodies, these three-dimensional bodies we're in are pretty heavy, pretty dense, right? We had to
Yeah.
slow down to this frequency and to be able to be three-dimensional. So when you go back, you're like, woo, this is what I do. You hear this from like, what is it? Near-death
Yeah.
NDEs, right?
I've
Near-death
I've had
experiences.
some NDEs, yeah.
So
I
not
do see me cry. I'm tearing up because
no, I love it.
yeah.
They can't go all the way. They have to cut it off at some point and come back and choose to continue as in this vessel for an NDE or to go home. So they have that choice
Yeah.
at some point. But when you get back, the- so you have the grand reunion with friends, family, pets. Everything is just more than you can even imagine, light and love and beautiful. And you're met with so much love. And then the first thing that you do when you get back to the other side is you have your life review.
Okay. Oh
Yeah,
yeah. There's
you
some funny movies about that too.
I know.
There's
You
like
get
comedies
right
and
into it. And these are the masters, okay? These are the elders. And one misconception people have about life reviews is that they're going to be judged, and that does not happen at all. So you are watching your entire life like a movie, and you're
Mhm.
in it, and you're going through every piece of it with the masters and the elders of just high evolution, just pure light beings, right? Helping you go through this, and you're watching it. Oh, look at I did learn that lesson. I mastered that. Oh, I did these things. Oh, I really didn't master that one. But and then there's no judgment. It's like an observation, like a very thorough review of everything because you did go in with a plan. We always come in with a couple themes that we're going to work with. And like how did you stick to plan? What did you learn? And what do you still need to work on? And so probably one of the hardest parts is that you're going to be your worst critic. We're always our own worst critic going through this.
Yeah.
Is that we feel the pain we caused everybody in our lives. We
Mm.
feel what they felt.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oof. If
Woo!
only. Yeah.
That's a
That's
biggie, right?
I kind of wish everyone would do that now as they're living.
Yeah, you can practice that now. I've
Yeah.
actually done some life reviews here in my own version.
Mhm.
Very cathartic, sometimes 3 days in my own realm doing that.
Aw.
I mean,
Aw.
yeah, because
Yeah, that's heavy.
I think it was very eventually at the end it was very releasing and forgiving and light to let all that go because we need to forgive ourselves, we need to forgive others, and that's like a big point of it all is to let it all go. We go through our life review. Now there are 3 levels in the unseen realm. The first one is the lower astral. I'm not going to cover this one very long. Basically, this is where the souls go who are not ready to join the populace yet, that maybe they were murderous dictators or drug addicts or whatever it is. They're very, fractured souls coming back. They need to like be hospitalized for a while. And they do. They have handlers, caretakers who look after them. And some of them don't even know that they're dead. And they're trying to get back to that drug fix or kill people. And eventually they realize, and their caretakers are very patient with them. They realize, like, oh, okay, where I am. All right, it's Okay, I understand now. So that's not for a lot of people, but that's the lower astral. Where most people go, most souls go is the middle, and this is what we would consider heaven. So
Okay.
the most beautiful colors beyond imagination, and creation without limits, and just joy, and like the best possible day that you could ever imagine, but every single day with all your favorite animals and people, and you could take a form. A lot of people will pick the last form that they were in their last life, or you don't even have to have a form. You can pick it yourself.
Mhm.
And you'll come here and you can create your own house, whatever you want it to be. If you've always wanted to have a castle, you can create the most expansive castle property, or a charming cottage, or a mansion, or maybe you always wanted to have one of those incredible tree houses like that movie Swiss Family
Oh
Robinson
yeah.
when we were kids, right?
Yeah, I was just telling my family we're going to watch that this weekend. It's so funny. I
So
love that movie.
create a tree house like however you want to. There's no limits. You can create it the way you want, and it's just people can imagine how we've been often taught how heaven will look and feel. It's beyond that.
Mhm.
Different foods we've never had before, not just sitting on a cloud playing a harp. It's pure creation, pure bliss and harmony.
Playtime.
Playtime.
You can live on a cotton candy cloud.
You can do whatever you want. And it's just, and people love it, and they often don't want to leave because it's that pure. You're in heaven. And then the higher astral level, this is where the Temple of Wisdom complex is. This is where the elders are for the life review. This is where the libraries are with all the Akashic records, the history of your soul. They have a temple of like a dome-shaped temple for healing with light coming in, and there's a huge queue of souls for that one. They want to go in. There's all these different colored, beautiful, gorgeous stones in the middle. So the light comes in, will heal them, invigorate them. And there are the tapestry room, which is every soul is like a string in this tapestry, and it goes on forever, and it's this living, breathing entity. So it's just
Mm.
like there's so much there, and this is probably where I hang out when I go back a lot, is because I want to learn. So you can go to the library, you can find there's infinite knowledge. All the knowledge of all existence is there. So you're learning for the next lifetime, right? What did you not master in your past incarnation? So you're learning. Now, if people don't want to read, they can go to these breakout rooms that are like holodecks, and they can go in there and experientially learn and play with things,
Cool.
create anything. So there's that other level, which is the Temple of Wisdom complex. So that's what it I guess in a nutshell is what the unseen realm is there on the other side for souls. So doesn't that sound great? There's nothing to fear there. Feels
I,
awesome. You're like, this is
yeah.
beautiful, right? There's
Yeah.
nothing to
Yeah.
fear. There's no pain, pure
Yeah.
creation. And eventually you're going to get a knock at the door, and it's the master's coming to you saying it's time to pick your next life. And so you'll sit down with a powwow, and this is where you brainstorm. What are the themes you want to come in with for the next life? Because we pick a few themes we want to focus on. You pick your avatar. So we have to be it all. So we're every race, both genders, many times. If you're going to even be human again, let's imagine that you're going to be human on Earth, because remember, there's infinite universes. This is all within the omniverse, ever expanding. So Earth is just one planet with humans. Just to imagine, right? And so let's imagine that you're going to be a human again on planet Earth. So now you're going to be gathering your team. You have your plan together, what country you're going to be born into, what family, you pick your family, race, you pick some of your potential contrast, and then who's going to be in your movie, who's going to be in your play. So this is where we start picking the co-stars, hey, soul tribe or soul family, will you be, last time you were the husband, maybe this time, you'll be the wife, I'll be the husband, or you'll be my enemy, right?
Mhm.
our boss or friend. And so we all put our plans together, and then we choose to go back with that plan, knowing we have free will. We completely, forget about it when we come through, right? We have the amnesia, we come through. And to remember what the plan was. It's so hard when we come back because the birthing process is so difficult. I mean, you are given the chance to choose. Do you want to experience being born, or do you want to integrate and join with the baby's body, your physical vessel as a soul after it's born? And a lot of souls will choose after because it's so traumatic coming through. You're being so much pressure, your head, your shoulders, you're getting pulled, and sometimes it's hard to breathe. And this is actually a case where it's so difficult a lot of times, and souls will often back out. Remember, souls all have guardian angels and guides. I have 13 guides in this lifetime. 13.
Oh, wow.
I
Cool.
know. So we all have a lot of support and divine guidance. The guides are there to help this soul join with this baby, right? And come into the world. And then all the amnesia is there for most souls. They forget the plan. They forgot where they were, forget everything about their infinite nature and who they've been. And so, and I wanted to make a quick point of it. A lot of souls will get cold feet once they see how hard it is, once they get there. And they have a certain amount of time where they have to join with that baby's body. And this is where often you have stillbirths or SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. It's nothing to do with the parents. It has to do with that soul backing out or not being ready or not joining with that baby. So,
and then you have the walk-ins. Yeah, like you were saying, I have one of my closest friends out here has an incredible walk-in story that she's writing her book now, but she's been making some appearances, but it's incredible. And that in and of itself, she came later. The child was almost 3, like 3, 4. So there's a little bit of memory. There's memory of looking up at the person holding her, the EMT, her mom looking at her like, I don't recognize this baby anymore. The soul shifted, and they had that relationship the rest of their life. Fascinating stuff. So that makes a lot of sense there about jumping in whenever
yeah.
they feel ready.
That does happen from time to time, and that has to be agreed upon between the soul that's leaving and the soul that's coming in.
Yeah, all agreements.
That's all done with agreements, so that if you just like ponder what I've said. I mean, I just said a lot right now.
You did. That's going to be hard to chop up in your reels.
Marinating on all of this, and I have been. I've been marinating on it. So think about how, with all this amnesia and everything like pitted against us, with the poisoning from the time that we're conceived, we're being poisoned in every aspect: air, water, food, everything. And the negative programming and our DNA being deactivated down to 2 strands versus 12, like all these things. And yet we still find our team, we still find our soul family, we still remember through all these absolute challenges. And we still wake up. I think that it's just, it
cool.
warms my heart. It makes my heart smile beyond anything else to say that we have all these challenges coming in, and especially the light workers in the star seats. It's like we still remembered, and we're helping everybody else wake up and remember too.
Yeah. And there's signs. Like my favorite little story is with my giant, my hubby. It's only been like 4 years, but I was adamant. I'm not getting married again. I'm done. There's no partner. I got this. I'm by myself the whole way. That's it. Even after I initially met him for a little while, he was in another country. And I'm like, how did we meet? Opposite sides of the planet. And I'm like, no. It took one time that it was a cuddle. And I put my forehead on his forehead, and there was a ping. There was an electrical shock. My whole like Kundalini snake spine thing went, and I was just like, and we were sober as can be. And I'm like, what was that? And we were just both like, I remember you. I found you. And
Yes.
that was the thing. It was in his eyes. He's a beast. He's a giant, but in his eyes were so gentle. I'm like, I've seen you before. I know you. And
Yes.
it's like we found each other. And then I'm like, okay, I can elope. Sure. I'm like, everything changed
Yeah.
because that feeling, I had already said no to him. And then, but we did that connection. I'm like, oh, okay, you can't deny that. That was some serious. And it wasn't like our socks were rubbing and we shocked each other.
Right.
It was a whole body experience. And it was so cool. And I
Tough.
know we've met each other. I'm like, I know I've known you before.
Oh, hello again. Maybe
Hello
sitting
again.
in this vessel, but we have, I like to say, danced with the eons before. We have
Yeah.
played, and that's what we have. That's a good way to characterize it. Is
Yeah.
we're playing, we're dancing through the eons, and
Yeah.
you know, when we're that also is a really great idea to throw out there is that we're never going to get it done. We're never going to cease to exist. You might as well have fun with being an infinite being, an infinite divine fractal of God, because we'll go on and on and on. And I'm enjoying this existence despite its contrast, and there is a lot of contrast.
Yes.
This one,
I think the acceleration of it and the fast pass, you could say, to illumination of it is to really honor humanity and be your best self. Find
yes,
out what your gifts are and share it with others, because you could have this mindset and be like, that's fine. We're going to come back a bunch of times. I'm just going to go nuts. I'm going to like those video games with Grand Theft Auto or something. They just go crazy. And it's like, sorry, pal. That's not how it works.
karma. It's the karma
You're gonna have a rough ride after. So just shine so bright. You can have like the most exemplary experience. We also, I know we touched a few things on it, but I wanted to share about the future selves.
Yes.
I only came just recently, past couple years maybe, realized one of the voices in my head, because there's a bunch. That's me. That's my future self. That's my guide. One of my guides, I believe, is me and my future self.
Yes.
And it's the clearest voice I have. You know, I don't have confirmation from anybody. It's just what happens to me when I ask myself, was
You
that
know
me?
yourself.
Yeah, I know yeah. And it hasn't failed me yet. So trust your future self and your higher self and your teams, because it is a game, but it is intended to be of the highest frequency, played at the highest frequency for the most divine of outcomes. So we are in charge of humanity rising, and that's like a really cool upgrade as a human to know to have that power. So treat it smartly.
Yeah,
Not like
it was to respect,
respect
like
it.
what you said, to respect our mission, our power, our responsibility with helping, assisting others who are ready to. And you said the perfect thing, which is to be the example yourself.
Mhm.
We cannot do any karmic work for others, and we can help influence it, but by being the best example and choosing that every day when you wake up to be the best you and to shine bright and to resolve and release anything that is unresolved,
Mhm.
to let it all go. That is so important. I know Dolores Cannon said, it's fun to go back and see all these past lives and intrigue and all of that, but she said people really need to be focused on this life and getting squeaky clean and letting go of what is existing,
Mhm.
letting it go.
Learn.
And
Yeah.
I remember I have had definitely a trend in a lot of my lives. I've been a messenger and a teacher in a lot of my past lives that I've gone back to visit through hypnosis. And a lot of times I have died horribly. I've been murdered in so many different ways for speaking truth,
Mhm.
for helping people wake up, sharing information. I have been tortured to death many times, and I have gone back to some of these myself.
Aw.
Now, while I'm in it, I'm okay, going through hypnosis. It's the being able to, and now it's funny because what I do in this lifetime is similar. I'm a messenger.
Yes. I was just gonna say, and the suppression. And you're being censored and suppressed, and
That's
same
exact-
thing.
bullied
My
since
all
I was a
my
little kid. I've been bullied, I've been hated and ridiculed and attacked in so many different ways, and I knew how to deal with it when I was a little kid. I understood instinctively it was because they didn't have enough self-love of themselves. Not enough self-esteem or love, and that's it. They're projecting, and that's how they
yeah.
use, hate because they hated themselves. I knew that as a kid and growing up, especially I would say these last 3.5 years, Heidi. Ooh, the amount
I
of hate.
know.
I probably lost like a 40% of my friends and clientele because of sharing the truth. And
Mhm.
I've been in jail. I've been banned from certain platforms. I've been stalked across platforms and hated and ridiculed. I've had people wanting me dead. I mean,
Oh boy.
in the last 3.5 years, and it's for the most part off like a wet duck's back, because I understand when people are hurting, that's what they do, and I understand that they're disconnected from their source, and so
Oh,
they
how
don't love themselves.
yeah. How
Yeah, and so
incredible you learned that in this lifetime, though. You've already picked up on that in this
yes,
lifetime.
and I and
Oh,
I
yeah.
I think that also we talk about it's really important to resolve karma and heal and do everything that we can possibly do in
Yeah.
this lifetime. This is a very important one. And so all of these, I feel like they're like last tests being thrown at us.
Yeah. Yeah.
What have you learned? What have you habituated and marinated within self? Where is your level of mastery? If we asked for mastery before we came here for this incarnation, many souls are very overzealous. Pile it on, more karma, more lessons, more. And the guides are like, whoa, 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 wait. Are you sure that you're taking on a lot, right? It could be very overwhelming coming down here, and you're like, man, why all this karma? Well,
Yeah.
why all this contrast? We probably asked for it, right?
We asked for it.
Do
Yep.
it, come on, yeah, more. And it's funny that a lot of souls that you see here, maybe they're in a body that would be disabled or paralyzed or whatever the case may be. Those are the souls. The line was out the door for souls wanting to incarnate into a disabled or handicapped body. Do you know
Mm.
why? Because that could accelerate their evolution by choosing a body that was not fully, healthy or working. Um, isn't that interesting? When you start to look at people, you're like, I see. And you wish them well. You hope, even if you just say it to them telepathically, that you understand why they've chosen, or maybe they had a horrible accident and they can't walk anymore, like whatever the case may be, there is some type of soul agreement that happened there for them to accelerate their soul evolution.
Mm. Yeah. It took being a mom to accelerate my awakening. And then, sure enough, all my lives had to do with my womb being hijacked or used, my DNA used, being on ships as a teacher and educator, and hybrid children. Like all these little lives all revolve around mentoring children or guiding children. Even in entertainment, I was teaching kids acting or protecting them through
Mhm.
La La Land. So, sure enough, I keep gravitating towards and shaping my life around educating and guiding children. And then when my kids came through, my awakening was like bam, 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 bam. They taught me all the hardcore stuff, the medical mafia. I mean, it's brilliant when you dot connect and you heal and you let things go because yeah, you begin to you illuminate a little brighter,
You
and that
do.
in turn helps others. Yeah. It
And it's
triggers others, but it also helps. And because of that, it helps
yeah,
others.
the triggers are good indicators. I would look at
Yeah.
a trigger. If you get a trigger today, let's say something happens, and you're like, man, that person is so annoying, or that really pisses me off, or it takes you back to some unhealed memory. You're like, instead of feeling guilty about it or beating yourself up or shoving it in the corner and trying, denial, forgetting about it, it's a good chance to like, ooh, that can of worms. That trigger right there is an indicator for me to look within, look in the mirror. What is unresolved? Poke around on those soft spots that haven't been healed yet on yourself. I like to look at it as, ooh, that's interesting, instead of going into anger or blame or anything like that. It's like, huh, wow, I still attracted something like this, or I'm still triggered by this or that. that's a chance for me to work on myself. So it's a moment of responsibility.
Mm.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
No one's
But we do our
perfect.
best.
That's not the point. We're here to expand, and
Yeah.
every day is another clean slate. Every moment actually is. And if you can choose to start off the day, absolve yourself, forgive others. And I sense we are coming into a place right now, if I can tap into the energy of the collective, is there is far more empathy, like we talked about last time, and acceptance beginning right now. Like there is far more acceptance. And I think that's because people are starting to love themselves more. And when you do, that's how you can't help but love everyone else, because you are everyone else from the sense of oneness and all coming from, source.
I think that was a beautiful bow to put on it, I think.
Oh, are we at an hour
I
already?
love that. We are.
Goodness, see,
I
this is such a powerful topic. We could go
I
on and
know.
on. And,
We
and
can't keep
anybody
going.
that has any interest in doing QHHT, neither Heidi and I are practitioners. However, we can point you in the right direction to
Yeah.
really great people, or at least a
Oh,
source.
yeah.
And then
All
anything.
ranges too. Be mindful of the price ranges that there's available. There
Mhm.
are choices.
Trusted
Go ahead.
sources, and also I'm happy to, whenever we go live with this, is to drop in some links to Dolores Cannon, to her works. If people are interested in taking that exciting and very curious soul adventure, whether to read about the lives that she's regressed, or to do work on themselves, is just, I cannot recommend it enough. Obviously, you and I both light up on this topic so much, and we could spend
Yeah.
hours going deeper into it. And I didn't even talk about my past or future lives.
Oh, I know.
And I've had many, and future lives. So,
Oh,
just by
yeah.
our level of passion, I hope that listeners are curious, and that's a good place to start. Even if this sounds so newfangled to you, or you're doubtful, it's just to keep an open mind and to stay curious and do some research and have fun with it, because there's so much to learn. And um, as examples of Heidi and I, like, we have just understood ourselves and our mission and who we really are, and to a place where there's far more love and peace for ourselves and everyone else.
Oh, so much so. Create that peace that people are craving. People are craving peace in their life. It starts with you. Just start there. That's what you can control, and that's what you can work on. And then that, believe it or not, it will move outwards and create peace around you. And it's a good place to be. It really is. Thank you so much, Miss Amie. I'm
Thank
bringing
you
this.
for having me.
Of course, we have to do it again because I want to hear about your your lives, and we have more awakening talks. Adventureswithamie.com. That handle can be found all over, but you do have an incredible website with all your links and all your shows on there. I'm really into your farm to table now and your gardening now. I'm studying it for my class this fall,
Oh,
and
great. That's
there's
been a
so
lot of fun.
yeah, there's so much information, good stuff on there. And she's traveled the world, everybody. If you feel stuck in your little current 3D life, join on Amie's adventures, and then perhaps
Come
it'll
for a
activate something
vicarious,
in you.
yeah,
Mhm.
come for a vicarious vacation, and until you're out traveling the world yourself, I say it's a great way to get inspiration and to understand other cultures and foods, and just see the beauty of this planet. We live on a beautiful planet. Look at me here behind. I'm in
Oh,
Thailand,
yeah. I forgot to bring that up.
Southern
Your
Islands of
picture. Yeah.
Thailand, which I have spent a lot of time in Thailand, which is a beautiful country. And this doesn't even look real, but it is.
Didn't you call it it's the James Bond area or
Yeah,
something?
there's James Bond islands down there, and there's these huge rock formations, and that's what we're looking at right here. Is my background is the water is that green, the sky is that blue, and the foliage and everything is just, it feels like a different world. But this is part of Thailand, and to encourage people to go see the world for themselves is something that I do with everything in my website, my videos, my blogs. And I love to hear people's stories when they do go out and explore for themselves.
Awesome. There you go. Well, please check in, folks. And thank you again for tuning in. Let us know your thoughts. And thanks for finding us. Amie and I have been suppressed and censored, and we are truly just sharing our hearts and a message of living in the light. So sorry, I don't know what's wrong with that, but can't stop, won't stop. Thank you again, and check out. Well, I'm sure we'll be talking again soon, Miss Amie. Yes,
I'm looking forward to it. Thanks,
yeah,
Heidi.
sure. Bye, everybody. Have a most beautiful